I just want people to understand that neither one of us is high right now.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Down Once More. Matt here, and I'm joined once again by Brad. And we are here tonight to review Waitress the Musical. And we thought, what better people to review it than two guys who are looking like complete douchebags, with Brad in his Miami bro tank, and I got the backwards Captain V-neck, so we're rocking it out. Brad?
I take so much issue with that. First of all, it's been a beautiful day here, and I believe sun's out, guns out. So this is what I mowed in. I didn't realize, I forgot we were recording, so I just came down. This is classy evening wear where I come from, Matt. On top of that, I also believe in skies out, thighs out, but this is a family show, so I'm not standing up.
That's right. Do you also believe in GTL?
I've believed in GTL since I was like 12 years old. Oh, man. You remember the grenade whistle on that show? Grenade whistle!
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a grenade whistle app on my first iPod Touch.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever watched a full episode of it.
Girl.
Nice.
I don't think so either. Yeah. I'm not walking back the douchebag thing very well, am I?
No, you're really not. You're like, yeah, no, I resent that. But you remember that grenade whistle? We support women on this podcast, for the record.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. I am limiting myself to one glass of whiskey tonight while we record.
Oh my gosh.
Responsible adult decisions.
I'm limiting myself to one glass, he says, as it's filled to the brim.
Not quite the brim. There's a little bit of
my
gap there.
God, that's like 8 ounces of whiskey.
It is not. There's a mountain in the middle. See?
So I'm sorry, 7.5.
Yeah, that's right.
When booze companies have to put drink responsibly at the bottom, that's not what they have in mind. That's like when you go to Harbor Freight. Exactly. That's when you go to Harbor Freight and it's just like anything you fit in a bag is 15% off, and people bring the biggest fucking totes they can come up with.
Like
my God. Dude, they're impossible to carry. Like the physics of those IKEA bags make no sense. If you fill it to the brim, it's tipping. It's not unless it's perfectly balanced, and like good luck. Your Skjolg little floating cube doesn't fit perfectly with your Billy.
They're good for carrying blankets, though.
Holder, I don't know.
Like if you're going on a trip, like blankets and pillows, they're great for that because it's not super heavy. It's just bulky stuff, and it makes it easier to carry. So there you go.
You know all about the use of blankets on trips.
Yep, absolutely. Started at a young age. But Waitress the Musical is what we are here to talk about. I already did a mini review of it when I saw it in theaters. And so some backstory on Waitress as a whole. Waitress was a 2007 movie starring Kerry Russell, not a musical at all. It was written and directed by Adrienne Shelley, and she died. Well, she was murdered in November 2006 before the movie ever released. So
damn, real Jonathan Larson, but murder.
Yeah, it was staged to be a suicide. It was originally ruled a suicide. Her husband challenged it and wanted them to do more investigating. He's like, she was happy. We were plans. And as we know, happiness doesn't have anything to do with suicide. Some of the people who seem the happiest have issues, mental health issues, but they did more investigating, found like a footprint in dust in the bathroom. She was found like hanging from the shower rod. And then they found footprint, tracked it to where construction was being done in their apartment building, and ended up making an arrest. The guy's first confession, it turned out he lied because it didn't match things, but then the truth came out in trial. He went to jail for 25 years. And then when he gets out, he will be deported. and then her husband tried suing like the contractor, all sorts of just crazy, wild stuff. So she, like you said, similar to
Why'd he
Jonathan
kill her?
Larson, robbed her, did to rob her, get more money, like nothing sexual, but took money and some other stuff. But yeah, just didn't seem like there was any good reason. Just
It's
robbed her.
just staged it as a suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Almost got away
Yep.
with it.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Crazy.
If that doesn't make you distrust cops.
Yeah, it was nuts. Like I didn't know anything about this because I knew very little about Waitress as a whole before I saw the musical. Like I saw the musical before I watched the actual movie.
Damn.
And when I did my mini review on the musical, someone commented on it and said it's crazy about Adrian Shelley, who wrote and directed, about being murdered before the movie came out. I was like, wait, what? And so for this, I did a little bit more digging, and it's a crazy story, but they did catch the person and
She was
serving
only
out their
40.
sentence. But it was, yeah. And she played the role of Dawn in the movie. So she also starred in it. She wrote, directed, and starred in it as well. The movie with Kerry Russell. So it was crazy story.
Who did she play?
Dawn.
That makes sense.
Yep. So she played Dawn in the movie. But
this doesn't make for great listening or probably watching, just me just open mouth reacting to this horrible, sad, tragic story. You know, R.I.P. Adrian. That might change the way I say some things later in the night.
That's fair. But this movie was adapted into a stage musical with lyrics by Sara Bareilles. Yeah, now we're getting back on track now, but I just wanted to point out the story because there's a wild story behind it. And it is like incredibly sad because, like I said, similar to Jonathan Larson, the movie became a cult classic and then turned into this whole thing. Not really a cult classic, like it won awards.
It was an indie
very
film,
popular movie. It was an indie film, yeah, very like lower budget, but it got recognized, I think Sundance and some other things, and then people liked it and took off. But that's how Jonathan Larson, Dying Before Rent, actually debuted, and like he'd been striving for some success and to tell his story and his message, and then never got to see it fully fleshed out. And kind of the same with her here. So really sad and tragic, but what came out of it is something we'll debate on here. Potentially great. But it was adapted into a stage musical in 2015 with the lyrics by Sara Bareilles and the book by Jesse Nelson. It moved to Broadway in 2016, so it had a workshop, and then so at the American Repertory Theater. And then the filmed version came out in 2023. Now, if you watch it, I don't know exactly when it was filmed. My guess would be around 2021, 2022. Because everyone in the crowd are wearing masks. But part of that, another tragic note on that, the actor who played Earl in the cast recording, the original Broadway cast recording of this, Nick Cordero, he passed away from COVID. And so what's a death round? So at the end of this movie, there's an in loving memory of Adrian Shelley and Nick Cordero. So that's kind of some backstory on this. Also, fun notes, the 2007 movie had Kerry Russell, had Nathan Fillion in it, which I'm a big Nathan Fillion fan. I don't know your opinion on him, Brad, with all of it, but Castle, one of my favorite shows. And then he's great at Firefly, Dr. Horrible sing-along blog is Captain Hammer. So he was great as Dr. Pomander in the original movie. And so fun notes there. And then
I haven't seen the
dive into
movie,
this.
So
what was we've talked about in some previous episodes, but this is the Waitress one. So let's hear about your experience and history and how you first discovered Waitress.
All right. So no shit. There I was. New York City. Late November, had to have been 2015. And I was just there for a quick trip. My buddy had a free night stay at the Ritz-Carlton in Manhattan. I think it was the Ritz-Carlton. and neither of like his wife couldn't go, and obviously he wasn't gonna like let me go without him. So the two of us decided to take a quick weekend trip to New York. One of the most spontaneous and romantic things I've done in my life. Nothing like showering in front of your buddy in a swanky room with a glass shower
Okay, I
wall
was
that
gonna ask him.
opens into the rest of the room. Oh man,
I was gonna say, why did you have to shower in front of him? Was that a requirement for going on the trip?
Because the room was set up for
okay. That
the room was set up in such a way that the eye was guided towards the rain shower. It was luxe. It was fantastic. On that trip, we saw Les Mis. Also, we talked about that on the show. Amazing experience. But we were set to leave. It was like a 9 or a 10 p.m. flight, and at sometime in the evening, like 6 p.m. There was a free concert that was to precede the unveiling of the Bloomington's Christmas windows, holiday windows. Very famous there on Fifth Ave in Manhattan. And the free concert was Sara Bareilles. We saw it on the television at the Today Show. We should have just gone to the Today Show that morning and learned about it. We were like, you know what? We could go see a free Sara Bareilles concert on our way to the airport, and we'll just grab a cab on the street there and we'll head out. So there we are. We got our backpacks, which was our luggage, because weekend trip, we didn't need much. Our backpacks with our stuff on our backs, walking through Manhattan, and it's in this weird off parking lot, back behind and off the street. It doesn't really seem like it's that big of a thing. And there were maybe 200 people there. It was pretty small. I was expecting it to be pretty big, pretty grand. It turns out it wasn't really a concert so much as it was some people from Bloomingdale's coming out and being like, "We're super excited about the holiday windows. Thanks for coming out. Here's Sara Bareilles," and she played 4 or 5 songs from the upcoming musical Waitress. And I bet, Matt, while I'm telling this story, why don't you look it up, see if you can find anything on the internet about this performance. I've never looked it up. But it was just, if I remember correctly, it was just her, piano, an upright bass, and a really sparse drum kit. And it was one of the most transcendent vocal performances I've seen in my life. We were right up by the stage, and the power and the clarity and the emotion of her voice was unbelievable. And 2 songs stood out to me. I was expecting, her kind of hits, especially Love Song. I was real psyched to see that. But she didn't play that. She played Waitress songs, and 2 songs stood out to me. She Used to Be Mine and Everything Changes.
Okay.
Did you
I'm not finding too much just behind just that she performed them. Sara Bareilles previews emotional Waitress tunes in outdoor mini concert. That's what Playbill put, and there's some clips and videos from it. But yeah.
Oh, I have to look that up. So those 2 songs really got a hook in my heart, and just I fell in love with those songs. Now, as we've also talked about on this podcast, I have a pretty hard rule that I don't seek out the music for musicals if I haven't seen the musical itself. So my exposure to Waitress songs was what I had heard at that concert, and then listening to ad nauseum. She Used to Be Mine and Everything Changes. I think She Used to Be Mine was on my top 100 played songs for the next 4 years. That's how much of an impact that song made on me. So last week, for the first time ever, I heard those songs in their context and in the context of the entire musical, and I heard the rest of the numbers. So that was my first experience.
Nice. and then we'll get into your thoughts after seeing them here in a bit. But mine was very different than yours, obviously. Never been to New York, which I kind of need to do to get credibility for this podcast. Smooth move, X-Lax.
Damn it.
Did you just spill whiskey all
That was my
over your
whiskey.
laptop?
No, my laptop's up, but my keyboard, I think, is fucked. Damn. I don't know if I'm sadder about the keyboard or the whiskey.
Do we need a pause?
Do I squeeze it back out into the...
How are you going to
you keep
squeeze it
talking.
out of
I'm
your
just gonna-
keyboard? Oh, from your...
No, I'm going to squeeze it out of the paper towel that I'm wiping it up with.
What kind of whiskey are you drinking that is important enough? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm all for no party fouls and not wasting alcohol. But I don't know that there's any I like enough that I'm like, I'm going to squeeze this out of the paper towel. Unless it's like a ridiculously expensive bottle.
It's not. It's just if I go upstairs to get more, I'm going to wake up the dog.
Ah, okay. That doesn't make
seeing
it sad.
Those trips?
I do.
Are you seeing that? Does the camera?
Mm-hmm. That's rough.
What are the odds this thing works?
Is that the one that you got for like $29? It says you changed your device. You changed your mic.
Yeah, damn it.
Because you disconnected it.
No, I didn't.
I know. You bumped it though. So, shame.
What do I do now?
Is it going to let you go back to your mic? Yeah, you're probably going to need to do that. Wait. I can change your input and output.
You can mute while recording, but you can't switch mics. You can? Change it to Yeti.
It says the Pro version. I can switch it, which I do have the Pro version. So let me switch it, damn it.
Yeah. God damn it.
Thought I had it. Well, nope, I can't. You're going to have to leave and then come back.
All right. Deuces.
See you in a sec.
You got me?
Yep. Sound much clearer now. All right. Okay. What is this? Just a second.
My keyboard still works, at least for now.
Hey, score. All right. So you're back. Now that we're back from Brad's technical difficulties of dumping his glass of whiskey all over his keyboard and then unplugging his microphone. Being an idiot. I was going to be nicer. I need returning guests. My experience with Waitress the Musical, very different than Brad's. I was first exposed to the songs from this from Jeremy Jordan singing She Used to Be Mine. That was the very first time I heard it. And
look at us. We were both introduced to Waitress by beautiful people that we're deeply attracted to and find incredibly musically compelling. It's not that different.
Look at that. You're right. It's basically the same story. And so I had tried to listen to the album on its own, and it didn't really grab me. And so I just did like one go through, and I'm like, it's not the same. Wasn't really into it. But then I saw that there was a film version coming out, and it was starring Sara Bareilles in the main role. And so I'm like, I need to see that. So I went to go see it in the theater, and this filmed version was so popular in theaters. It was only supposed to run for like one weekend. It was filmed by Bleecker Street, put on by Fathom Events in a number of theaters, and it just kept getting extended. And I think it ended up having about a 4-week run on it. Like when it was first premiering, it was only having 2 showings, like one on a Wednesday and one on a Saturday, like something like that. And then they just kept adding more because people just kept showing up and like selling it out. Like I went on like a Wednesday night and there were maybe 2 open seats in the whole theater. When insane. I was the first ones that was going, and it was just so popular because there were people wanting to see this. And so that was my first full experience with it. Then I went and I watched the movie that it was based on. And there is a lot of similarities, a lot of dialogue pulled straight from it. It's a fairly faithful adaptation, pays a lot of respect to it. And I do think that the musical is better than the original movie. But part of that's just for me. The music adds a whole nother layer of emotion and everything to it that makes it resonate and just is more compelling to me a lot of times. Um, and so that's my experience with it. And then I just rewatched it before we recorded this. So that's that. Some fun notes forgot to mention on the history is just there have been some insanely talented people in like Broadway casts of this play. So the original workshop, American Repertory Theater, and Broadway performances. So that was like the workshop was in
I think it's pronounced
2014.
repertoire.
No, it's R. It's not spelled repertoire. It's spelled Repertory.
I stand corrected.
Repertoire
We'll
is
edit that out.
OIRE. But
right.
so Jesse Mueller played the role of Jenna Hunterson, who is the main character. We haven't really given a description of what this play is. If you don't know what Waitress is, it is a story of this waitress at a pie shop who always comes up with creative names inspired from her mother and is this great pie maker. She finds out she is pregnant with her husband's kid. Her husband's a bit of a dick and kind of abusive and an asshole. In general, she doesn't want to have the kid, ends up having an affair with her married OBGYN, which isn't problematic at all. And hijinks ensue to some extent. That's rough summary. One other thing I'll say, I was not expecting this to be a comedy when I went to go see it in the theaters because the only song I had heard was She Used to Be Mine, and I was expecting it to be a downer of a movie and a musical, and is decidedly not. Like, it's primarily a comedy. There's some of those emotional heartstrings I'm pulling, but yeah. Back to my notable cast. What were you gonna say?
On top of your description, can I just add this musical does a bit of a bait and switch in its plot. It makes you think that this is a musical about a woman, a pie maker, who is going to go to Springfield, win a pie competition, and find a way out of her really difficult life.
Mm-hmm.
And what you realize by the end is that the movie's actually about a woman learning how to love herself and love the child that she didn't want at the very start. So it's a woman who's dissatisfied with her life and finds out that she has an unwanted pregnancy, and you realize by the end of it that it's her coming to grips and actually learning to love who she is and love the child.
That is a very good call out that I did not even touch on the description, because you're right. That is the main theme of this, because she starts out telling the OBGYN that she does not want this baby. She's going to have it, but she does not want it. She's kind of resentful with her coworkers at the pie shop, Dawn and Becky, trying to give her like a baby book to write letters to it and keep to the baby and keep a memory. And she first rejects it, and then she starts grabbing onto it and just writing these letters and bearing her soul and wanting to make a life for her baby, even though she's still scared because of her husband and not wanting to be there and what she's going to do and wanting to find a better way out, a better life for herself at the beginning. Yeah. And then, like you said, at the end, ultimately finding out, realizing to love herself, stand up for herself, and how important her daughter is, the most important thing in her life. So jumping back, notable cast, Jesse Mueller played the role with Workshop, the American Repertory Theater, and Broadway. Drew Gelling, who plays Dr. Pomander in this recorded version, he had been on the production with the American Repertory Theater and on Broadway when it first went to Broadway. Kayla Settle, who you may know from The Greatest Showman, who played the bearded lady in that, and her amazing performance of This Is Me. She played the role of Becky. And then Barrett Wilbert Weed played Dawn in The Workshop. And Barrett Wilbert Weed was in Heathers as Veronica. She was in Mean Girls as Janice. Very talented and well known on Broadway. And also Kimiko Glenn, whom you may know from Orange is the New Black, played Dawn as well when it debuted on Broadway. She was the Dawn there. And then Joe Tippett played Earl in the American Repertory Theater. He plays Earl in this recorded version as well. And then Christopher Fitzgerald played Ogie in The Workshop, and then the Broadway debut, and then in this. And then some notable people who stood up for Dr. Pomander. Jason Mraz played Dr. Pomander alongside Sara Bareilles at one point. Jeremy Jordan played Dr. Pomander. And then Jenna was played by Sara Bareilles. Catherine McPhee from American Idol and Smash, she played Jenna at one point. Shoshana Bean played Jenna. She played alongside Jeremy Jordan at the same time he was in there. Jordan Sparks, also from American Idol, played Jenna Hunterston at one point. So those are some of the more notable people who played the roles on Broadway. And I thought that was neat seeing who all had been in those performances. But now, experiences, history out of the way, let's talk about this musical in and of itself, specifically this recorded version. Brad, what worked for you? What didn't? What were your thoughts?
So I want to echo what you said, because I felt the exact same way about how I went into this also not expecting a comedy. The two songs that really grabbed me were, gosh dang it, how do I turn that off?
No, keep it. It's fun. Breaks things up sometimes.
The two songs that really grabbed me was She Used to Be Mine and Everything Changes. And while Everything Changes is a more positive song, it's not funny. Mm-hmm. And so I was really thrown by the tone of the movie pretty much through. What worked for me was the music. Pretty much across the board, I thought the songs were great. There were a couple that, I didn't love, but none that I hated, I would say. And I found myself just waiting for the next song whenever they were talking. I think so. Before I say what else I think worked well, I should probably say what I didn't think worked well, and that's basically all the dialogue and most of the acting. I was shocked to find out that the guy that played Pomander originated the role, because he bothered me every time I saw him.
I made that call
out. He's the kind of guy.
In my mini review,
yeah,
I'm like,
say it again.
He's quirky, but I do not think he had a strong enough voice to pair up with Sara Bareilles and the songs they sang together.
He's got a far better voice than me.
Oh, absolutely.
To be clear,
he has a fantastic voice, but that pairing,
it's too bright. His voice is too bright.
His voice is too high. They didn't complement each other.
Oh,
well.
yeah. No. Yeah, he's got too bright of a voice, but he's also the kind of person that I think has been told for years and years that he's really good at physical comedy without actually being really good at physical comedy. Like the choreography, he kept that doctor's note, the way he played everything
in the air for so long, and everyone loved it.
Yeah,
he kept it in the air for like 15 seconds.
Did nothing for me. It did nothing for me. I thought Earl was bad. And every time he was on stage, it felt like you were at a community playhouse. That was granted, a good community playhouse production.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the kind of acting that feels like someone who's constantly trying to be project, enunciate, open yourself to the audience, and it just didn't feel natural to me.
I see that.
And I don't think the dialogue helped much with that. I thought that it was so stiff. I thought the dialogue and the exposition throughout was just predictable and kind of just flat. And it didn't lend itself well to like genuine, like emotional moments. That it just, to me, it very much felt like one of those musicals that the dialogue is filler till the next song. We're gonna move you on the plot till we have another song for you.
It's one you wish was sung through.
I just exactly. And I think that most of the time when they were going for the funny, quirky vibe, they missed. With the notable exception, here's where I come back to what I think worked well. The only, I think, the only characters that I think actually nailed the quirky, funny vibe is Ogie and Dawn.
Yep.
I
Agreed.
thought both of them were fantastic. Over the top, cheesy, goofy, like, but it worked. They were played great. And it actually fit those characters well. Like Ogie's little song that he does. I forget what the name of it is. But that's like
you're never ever getting rid of me. Never ever getting rid of me is the name.
That's the funniest. I think that's the funniest part of that musical, because it
absolutely
actually fits the character. It fits the vibe. It works.
His dancing,
a lot of it was just goofy.
It's so good.
His dancing, it was so good. That's where it fit. That's where it worked, and I could have done more with that as an accent rather than an attempted like main course. But huge caveat to all of this, I just never find plots where the main character is cheating to be very sympathetic. I don't think that just the entire premise lends you to a very sympathetic protagonist.
I agree, especially for Dr. Prometer. It makes him very unlikable.
Yeah.
Especially
incredibly unlikable.
Like her, to be clear, not saying it's justified, but where Earl's an abusive piece of shit and she's dealing with this, it makes her a little bit more sympathetic. But him, it's like he moved there for his wife's residency. She seems nice as hell when you meet her at the end. That's how it is in the movie too. And it just seems like he's a little bit of a skeevy dude, the OBGYN that is starting this relationship with his client, patient is the right word for that.
Pregnant patient. Yeah. Look, it makes that not a relationship that you want to pull for. Knowing the story of Adrienne, nothing but respect and sympathy to her family. But watching this, I just had the thought where it's just like, there's no reason the person who wrote this has like not cheated on their spouse many times. like the whole vibe at the end was just like, you know what, I think it's best that we part ways, but it's been good for me. Hope it's been good for you, but like, you should be with her.
Right.
Like, no consequences, no issues. Becky and Cal, like, that's fine. You know, his wife's probably gay and my husband's in a diaper, so it's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, like that was the other thing that was wild with that.
Like, there are what, 4 things in our society, if maybe 4 things in our society that we pretty universally agree that ain't cool. Murder.
Yeah, bad.
Stealing.
Yep.
Rape.
Yep.
Affairs.
Yeah.
Like Like that's the top 5 universal morality kind of things. So when your whole musical is premised, and I know the movie too, is premised around, it could be a good thing. I'm out.
That's fair.
No.
That's fair. Not as a proponent of affairs, to be clear, but I do feel like murder.
To play devil's advocate, maybe if you do sleep around.
No, I feel like murder and rape there's a big old gap between murder, rape,
That's
and
why
affair.
I listed it fourth. That's why I listed it fourth.
Okay. Just to be clear, throw back to
It's
one
at
of
the
the
bottom of the
previous
list.
episodes, the Hawk Nelson song, Letters to the President. We're not doing same-sex marriage, date rape, and murder. We want to create some separation.
First of all, at least same-sex marriage implies monogamy.
It's true. It's true. There you go.
And like, I'm also like I have polyamorous friends. I know people that the open relationship works for them. Like, or people who just like monogamy isn't for them. It's not their thing. Totally. None of those people are in relationships where the other person thinks they're monogamous. So I don't want to act
that's
like
fair.
Monogamy it's not even like monogamy is the universal good here. It's just
that cheating.
One of the people in the partnership thinks you're in a monogamous relationship.
That's fair.
And you act like you're not. That everyone recognizes that's a bad thing. Even the poly folks.
That's fair.
That I know. I don't mean to speak for the entire poly community.
I did think it was kind of funny with that the only person that's like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be doing this is the crotchety old horny man, where he's talking about her as the lipstick smudger, and that doesn't mean you should run around and be a hussy just because your husband's an asshole, essentially. But then he ends up leaving her the whole pie shop and everything. Spoiler alert for the end.
I was going to say, I actually think that that's a pretty good example of how we should, talk to people who are doing things we don't agree with. Like, he's not like, and I don't want that shit in my pie shop. Yeah, exactly. He's not like, he's a dick, you're fine. He's like, hey, here's what I think. But it doesn't change anything between us. And he stands up for her to Earl.
Yep.
Like, he still believes in her, leaves her the shop, all these things. Like, that's actually a really great model for hey, when people in your life do something you're not cool with, tell them and then move on.
Still love them.
Yeah.
No, that's a very good point.
Step foot in their house, even though they're living in sin.
Exactly. Step into the sin den. It's fun in there.
Sin den.
Yeah, sin den. Sin den. Yep.
Den is not the right word, but
den is not a word. Den is a word. But I'm saying it with some kind of accent.
Den is a word, but it's like
but that's not the one there.
Sound.
Yeah.
That's
what, off the top of your head, there's a random thing. Finagle. What would your definition of finagle or finagling be?
I think that there's a couple valences that it could have. Use it in a sentence in the way that you.
Okay.
Would.
We'll take a look at it together and we'll see if we can finagle it to get it to work.
In that context, it's about the same as jerry-rigging something. You're just trying to figure out some way to make it happen.
Right. That was my understanding. That's how I have always used it and heard it been used. I used it at work today with someone I'm like, well, we'll finagle. And they're like, it's too early in the morning for that. What is that? And I went to pull up the definition and just send it to them. And the definition is essentially saying that you will achieve something through devious or dishonest means. And I'm like, to be clear, I'm not
that's the
meaning
other way I've
devious
heard it.
or dishonest means. I am just saying we'll work at it and move things around until we get it to work. That's my definition. But that was not coming up as the definitions on there. Everything referenced devious and dishonest. So,
well,
but
I would
I
type
digress.
it in, but the bottom row of my keyboard is not working. So it begins.
So it begins. Is that your $29 keyboard? Is this a more expensive keyboard? $29 keyboard.
I think it's even cheaper than $29, to be honest with you.
Score.
But it's Bluetooth and it has my mouse too.
Well, thankfully Amazon has next day delivery most of the time. All right. Thank you for blowing that. It's great.
You should try this move
for our watchers and listeners.
You blow on it real fast, hit finger action.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe if you got it upside down. A little bit of force and speed. That's all you got to do.
And if you do it right, then you might get some wetness to come out. Is that what you're hoping for, your desired effect there?
Don't be gross.
Okay. Okay. So what I thought worked and didn't work, a lot of the same stuff that Brad had. And my things I called out in my mini review, a lot of those still stand. Like Drew Gelling, quirky, charming in his own right, but he did not have, in my opinion, does not have a strong enough voice to pair with Sara Bareilles. In Bad Idea, and especially It Only Takes a Taste, I felt like them singing on the bench together because of his tone and how high his voice is. I did not think it worked well. I did not think they sounded great together. And I don't know, it kind of detracted from those songs for me.
Can we talk about the fact that she's like solidly in middle age now? Probably 41, 42, which is exactly how old Sara Bareilles was when they recorded it.
You froze, so I have no idea what you said. Yeah, because
I ended a while ago.
I go to edit. No, you said she's 41, 42, which means, and then it froze. So I have no idea what you said after that.
She's basically the same age, or Sara Bareilles. So he said she's solidly in middle age or whatever, like 41, 42, which is the age Sara Bareilles was when they recorded the film.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But one of the things that was different for me, from like in the movie, Nathan Fillion, he has a little bit more of the charm and he's a little bit more suave, and like he seems like someone that would be having an affair and you maybe have an affair with. Like this Drew Gelling as Dr. Pomander, he doesn't seem like necessarily like he'd be someone that Sara Bareilles would be attracted to, for one. And two, he just doesn't seem like the type.
Sara Bareilles is an angel.
Exactly. And he also doesn't seem like the type that's going to be cheating on his wife. That's doing everything fine.
Okay.
By all accounts.
I was going to say this on record. I just got the vibe from him that he was super weird in high school and super annoying, and it was the theater kids that accepted him. Like that's the vibe he puts out.
Yeah, he doesn't put out sex appeal. Like,
no.
All the simulated sex in this, there's a decent amount of simulated sex in this musical, by the way. And most of it's fairly uncomfortable, but Dawn and Ogie's simulated sex in the Revolutionary War outfit and the Betsy Ross outfit made me laugh. So good. And so Dawn was played by Caitlin Houlihan, and Ogie was played by Christopher Fitzgerald, who I said did it in the workshop in the Broadway premiere. He also played Bach in Wicked, and on the Wicked cast recording, he's the one who performed Bach. And he gives off great Munchkin vibes. So that's good. But yeah, his song,
We represent the lollipop girl.
his song, Never Ever Getting Rid of Me, is one, it's fairly creepy if you just take it on its face. And like in the movie, it's like,
Look,
this guy is going to murder her just because they're both creepy and weird.
Dude,
it worked out for him, but
dude,
this is the makings of a serial killer.
I think that the increased awareness of mental health is fantastic for us. But what it has really done is it's killed romance. Or at least it's shown how basically to fall in love, you have to be borderline unhealthy. Because the line between romance and love bombing is basically just, do you end up together? Corey and I were just watching, what was it called? It's the Anne Hathaway falls in love with the young pop star.
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway, brand new, streaming on Amazon Prime.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I have not watched it yet.
Corey and I watched it.
Is it
first
good?
of all, watch it. It's fun. It's a fun romantic comedy. But the pop star,
The idea
does things
of
like
you.
he walks in. The idea of you. Thank you. He walks into her art gallery and buys everything in the gallery, and then he leaves his $20,000 watch in her nightstand. And it's things like that where I was just like, love bombing. I'm sorry. He's like, come on international tour with me. Like, this is unhealthy behavior, but it's romantic. Mixed messages. So Ogie, absolutely, like, what do they call it in the in How I Met Your Mother? It's the Dahmer scale.
Something I wasn't familiar with. The guy from Say Anything who holds up the jukebox, not jukebox, fucking boombox, stereo, whatever you want to call it. Not a jukebox. That'd be impressive.
Yeah. Well,
it's like Domer or something. It's something very similar to Dahmer.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So Dobler, I think it's
Dobler. That's right.
We just watched Say Anything. Something like that. But like, it's that principle where it's just like, this is a fine line between psycho and romantic. And Ogie, man, flirts with that line.
Yep. It is Dobler. Or Dobler. Dobler. I've never seen Say Anything, so I don't know.
Dobler,
good call.
Better. It's good. Say Anything is great.
Okay. Yeah. And I feel like he plays that role perfectly. And that is a great example of songs we've talked about on here in the past, and Rayleigh and I had too, that there's some that when you see it, it's fantastic. Just listening to it on its own, it doesn't do anything. Like that song, I'm never going to listen to on the soundtrack. Like I'm not putting it in the playlist, but with the physical aspects and him performing it is so great. Like one of my favorites in the musical. But I'm not going to throw it on the playlist. Like you need the visual aspects for that one. I also think, just this goes without saying, but one of the main things that worked for me was just Sara Bareilles in this role. She is just so talented and so insanely good. And especially like in What Baking Can Do, she hits some notes that are just insane and just fantastic. And she just elevates that role. And it kind of sucks for anyone else who plays that role besides her, because like Jessie Mueller, insanely talented and originated it on Broadway. But man, when then people are comparing you to Sara Bareilles, it's just not fair.
Who wrote the stuff? Like, that's what's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she kicked ass. Okay, another question. Another thing that didn't work, though. The write-up and all the descriptions say that this took place in an unidentified Midwestern town.
None of these were Midwest accents.
Yeah, where in the mid fucking West do they talk like that? I don't think
Right.
so. I'm
Mhm.
guessing that they're thinking somewhere in Missouri
Yeah, because it was Springfield for the
because it
baking
said
thing,
baking
wasn't it?
contest in Springfield.
And
But
in the movie, she's
yeah,
gonna take a
and I'm
bus
guessing
there. But yeah,
Springfield, Missouri. I think, is there a Springfield,
I would
Illinois?
assume so. I don't know. Missouri's more common, but that's not a Missouri or an
But
Illinois
like,
accent.
who calls? Well, parts of Missouri, southeastern Missouri for sure,
Fair.
because South Missouri butts right up against Arkansas. But like, when was the last time you saw Missouri and thought Midwest?
That's also fair. This
Like,
may be an unpopular
Missouri
opinion.
fought for
Sorry,
the South in the Civil War.
That's true. That is how we should draw those lines.
So you don't belong in the Midwest. We're staunch Unionists, and we don't speak with an accent. This is how English is meant to be spoken. We're accent free in the Midwest.
Yeah, that's right. No
Fuck
accents. This may be an unpopular opinion, but one thing that really didn't work for me and I really didn't like was the names of the pies and like the puns with the names of the pies. I get it was a thing from the movie and it's explained that it's what her mom used to do all the quirky names. I hated it. I don't like it. It's one of my least favorite parts of the musical and the movie too. Like I feel like it borderline works better in the movie, but I don't know. I didn't love it. But what does work is I appreciate them using actual baking materials and ingredients, actually throwing around some pie dough, pie crust, flour, all that fun shit on stage. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate some good props and staging, but I don't like the pie names. Doesn't work for me. Too on the nose, too punny.
That didn't bother me. I totally see where you're coming from. My thing is more, I would never order my eggs betrayed me pie.
Right. Like, what is it? And that's what, like,
Yeah,
was she writing it because she was distracted, or was that an actual name of a pie?
Joe ordered it. I don't know.
Jo-
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Um, I also, oh man, speaking, you said live ingredients.
mm-hmm.
They had a live ass baby.
They did have a live ass baby, and that baby was sleeping in that
But then
scene, which was insane.
yeah, but then
Good for
they
that baby.
swapped that baby for a doll.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
It's a good bait and switch. Because Corey and I were just like, that's a real baby. That's a tiny baby. That baby's cooperating. We're talking about the baby, and then they come back, and it's a doll. And I'm like, I didn't even see him take the baby. That was good.
That's impressive. Good
So here's my
observation.
question.
Okay.
Do we think there were 2 nights recorded, and then they just cut when they cut camera? One night they used a live baby, one night they used a doll?
My guess would be yes, because a lot of times these film stage versions, what they do is they record multiple different things. They record one with a performance and a stage, so you can get those wide shots and everything like that. And then with a stage, it's always with a stage, but they do it with a live audience and a performance there. And then they do one where they can get close-ups on stage with the cameras and with booms and not worry about obstructing the audience. So that's probably a good call out. That's probably what it was.
When they used. So that's my guess. Is that's when they used
there.
the baby when
it was
they
on
could
stage
control. Yeah, and it was just like, oh, the baby's asleep. Run it. Let's go.
Right.
So they could get those close up shots, and it's just like, whoa, that's a real baby. But because there was no way that they had a real actual baby every night with all that entails. I don't know how I got that one. How to get that reaction. So, but I thought that was a good touch.
I agree. I will say well, we'll get into it with the songs. That's for what worked and didn't work for us. So Brad, what were your favorite songs from this musical, and did it change once you had seen it in the context of what they're at? Did your favorites change at all?
Everything Changes is, for my money, one of the best musical songs. I would say top 25 musical songs of all time.
Wow. And that's why you get variety on here, because Everything Changes does jack shit for me. I don't think it's even in my
I'm
top
sorry.
five
She used to
from
be
this
mine.
musical.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
Okay.
sorry. She used to be mine.
I was going to say, okay.
Huge difference. No.
Very different.
She Used to Be Mine, I think, is a top 25 musical song. It hits so hard. And that's what I think is like the heart of that musical. And that's what I was really expecting. Stuff like that. Like the really like raw and real and poignant stuff. So what I was hoping for. So that was it. Everything Changes I loved when I first heard it in the context. So the recording that I listened to a lot was just Sara Bareilles. It didn't have the harmonies. When you brought in Becky and Dawn, for some reason, the harmony and the choreography of everything, I liked it less than I thought I would.
That's fair.
I really liked Never Ever Getting Rid of Me. That I think is up there for me. And What Begging Can Do, I think is third, with a special a shout out as well to, I think, The Negative is just a well written song. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily my favorite, but I think The Negative is just a very technically like well written, clever musical song.
I agree. I'm right there with you with She Used to Be Mine. Like Sara Bareilles' performance of it, like it gave me goosebumps when I watched it. Like literally, I had goosebumps when she's performing it. Just so
I was
good.
just like welling up. It's just, I was locked in.
Like she's almost as good as when Jeremy Jordan sings it. And I'm kidding.
Look, everybody is attracted to what they're attracted to. And I am not here to tell you.
You're not here to kink shame?
That you can't prefer. I didn't know it was a kink. Thanks.
You have told me I can't prefer Jeremy Jordan's version multiple times on this podcast.
Yes, you're right. I have told you that. But that is in terms of your professional opinion as a reviewer of musicals. But you let your heart do what it wants to do, man. Your professional opinion, though, it needs to be that Sara Bareilles is better. But like I said, if Jeremy has your heart, that's fine. Just not your podcast. Jeremy, come on the podcast. It would make his life.
So
come on, Jeremy.
She Used to Be Mine. Always going to be up there for me. I actually really like You Matter to me. Like I said, I don't think Drew Gelling's voice holds up to Sara Bareilles', but the song in and of itself, I think, is fantastic and very emotional and powerful. I don't love the speaking interlude to her baby, even though that injects the whole more emotion to it. I don't love that break in the middle there. As shitty as it is itself, I actually really like Bad Idea, from when Dr. Pomander and Jenna first start hooking up and they sing it. I really enjoy that song. One thing that I was disappointed with the movie, and I think it's just the different manner of doing things. blanking on what the name of the song is. I have to get back. The You Will Still Be Mine, which is Earl's song being a jackass to her, essentially talking about when he quit his job.
Don't you love
when
that baby more than you
fired.
love me?
Yeah, which
Dude,
is
every time he touched her, it just
shitty
made
thing
my
to say.
skin crawl.
Just yeah. But the
Get away from her.
You Will Still
Creep.
Be Mine, where it's just such a controlling thing as well with him and just so creepy. But Nick Cordero's performance on the Cast album is just so good in it, and a lot like this. It's a lot more spoken than sung, and I didn't love that in the movie. Joe Tippett, like, sure, he's talented. He doesn't have a bad voice, but I didn't love the choices and the performance of that song. Like, I liked it significantly less in the movie than I do on the Cast album. But and then at the end of that song, when it's her just saying it, the words and how she feels, like, oh, I really enjoyed that one. And then, like we discussed, like, Never Ever Getting Rid of Me in the movie, like, with everything, and Christopher Fitzgerald just so fucking good at that role. And then at the end when he's leaving and he does like a fucking cartwheel, did you catch that? To get off stage is just so good.
It's really good.
So talented. That's one of my favorite moments of this musical. Like, that song and the whole thing and the dance number with it is just so. And when he does his what's it called, the random inspired poetry or whatever, and it's just always so bad, and it's so good.
But Dawn's
so
just
good.
eating it up.
She's just eating
like I said,
it up.
That should have been just little pops of quirk throughout the whole thing, and then the whole thing should have been a little more heartfelt.
Also, what are your feelings on her saying that she invented this pie? I think it's technically correct, but I don't know. There's something about it saying you invented the pie when she was talking about creating them. It's like, I don't know. There's something with that. Invented was just weird to me. Weird. I didn't like that she said she invented the pie.
Rabbit hole.
You came up with it. You created it. Mm-hmm. I am.
But I think that maybe created or originated.
I do like using originated. It's fun, especially when talking about musicals. They originated the role on Broadway.
Yes, originated, yes. It seems very, very classy to say. But
it does.
I think invent is fine.
That's just my dumb brain thinks invent is like an actual invention, not a fucking pie. Can't invent a pie. A pie is a pie.
Well,
you are freestyling with that pie. You are remixing that pie.
Do you concede that someone invented pie?
Someone did invent pie, yes. The originator of pie invented.
What is a pie?
Well, that's also a fair question. Because you could make an argument, even though it has cake in the title, that cheesecake is a pie. Like, I would argue cheesecake is more of a pie than a cake.
How about pizza?
Pizza pie? That's a common term. I think pie, if it's deep dish on pizza, I am okay with giving it the pie moniker.
Okay.
Deep dish pizza, I will give the pie moniker to. Just thin crust or just standard hand tossed crust, I don't consider that a pie. But if you're deep dish, to me, a pie, you have a base and you have walls. You have sides and then stuff inside. That is a pie to me. That is my technical definition. Flat bottom, sides containing delicious ingredients. That is a pie to me.
So a quiche is a pie?
Yeah, a quiche is a breakfast pie to me. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Quiche is a pie.
Don't you usually use pie crust on a quiche? But
you need a crust, right? You need a crust.
You need some kind of crust. Yes.
You need a crust.
It can be graham. It can be Oreo. It can be the traditional pie crust. Some kind of crust that is in base, sides, ingredients inside. That is a pie to me.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's a pie,
mass definition.
And someone invented that.
Someone did invent that pie. Mm-hmm.
And after that pie was invented, no more pies can be invented.
They can't be invented. It can be remixed. I don't know. I think we're getting in the weeds now. I would not consider it an invention. The pie in and of itself already exists. You are putting your own spin on an existing invention. You are not reinventing the pie. Maybe some things could be considered reinventing it. What she was doing, that was not reinventing it. You're just doing different ingredients and fillings. You got the same basic premise. If you're like, hey, our crust of the pie is pizza and inside it is mashed potatoes, that is an invention. You're reinventing that. If you're like, my crust is a pepperoni pizza, and then I have like a KFC bowl inside, that would be an invention. Although I wouldn't go pepperoni with a KFC.
That sounds horrible. Why is that where your mind went?
It's a reinvention.
This is why America is the fattest country in the world. What about pepperoni in the bottom?
Well, yeah, KFC is like, let's do a double down.
But those instead of go together, I know, man.
Instead of bread, we're going to give you a fried chicken and then another fried chicken on the bottom and then put bacon and cheese and sauce in the middle. It's America.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
Wright brothers invented the airplane?
Yes.
Okay.
Boeing did not invent the airplane. They remixed it. They did a Loopy Fiasco remix.
First jet Fiasco does remix. Is that another invention?
See, the jet engine, I would say the jet engine in and of itself was an invention. An airplane.
But that invention was added to.
But the jet engine was incorporated to the airplane. And that was that person doing their remix of the airplane. They're like, hey, let's take this beat, the beat of the jet engine, and add it to this existing airplane thought. And then bam, we got it.
So who's to say that she didn't invent the filling and add it to the pie? And then to avoid being pedantic, didn't say, I invented this filling.
Being pedantic. It is important to avoid being pedantic. So I will concede on this point and allow her to say she invented the pie.
I just want whatever listeners are still with us to say. Yeah. I just want people to understand that neither one of us is high right now. And this is the dumb stuff that we're
my whiskey is almost gone, so I could make the argument.
Mine too.
That I'm borderline drunk. Ew. Well, your keyboard drank more than you did, so
significantly. I still don't have bottom row letters.
Do you have any final thoughts for Waitress the Musical? Because that is what we're actually discussing, not inventions. Waitress the Musical. Final thoughts.
I think that it's 100% on Rotten Tomato is unwarranted.
As 100%? But see, 100%. Here's the thing. Rotten Tomatoes is just 100% of people would recommend it. Not that they think it's a perfect movie.
Correct. So the critics, they either give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all that they're judging it on. And so it could be a 6 out of 10. And they're, that's a thumbs up. We'll give it. Now, to be fair, Waitress only has 17 critic reviews. Mm-hmm. But it has a 98% audience score. And it has over 250 verified ratings. I honestly do think that that's a bit high for that musical because I don't
What's the audience score? I missed it.
98%.
Oh.
I don't think that this musical is hitting for 98% of the population.
I think that's fair. I would say
So
it has more, in my opinion, it has more variety to it, and I think more commercial appeal than Hamilton does. I do not, that's not me saying I think it is better than Hamilton. I think Hamilton is better, personally. But you have a whole segment of people who aren't into the hip hop genre who would discredit Hamilton because of that. Hamilton is more of a, there's racist people out there and old people that would like Waitress but would not like Hamilton. Like I said, I personally, besides Lin-Manuel Miranda's performance, think Hamilton is better than Waitress. I do. But I do think that there are more people. I don't know. I feel like Waitress borderline has a broader audience and it has more going on with it than Hamilton. Because, like, what's Hamilton's Rotten Tomato score? Let's see. Like, I bet Waitress is higher.
Oh, for sure. I bet the 100% musical is higher. They're the one that definitely has more than.
Hey, you said it was
reviews.
98% audience.
98% audience, 100%.
It's Hamilton is 89% audience, 98% Rotten Tomato Best critics, but 203 critic reviews and 1,000+ audience ones. Because it's a lot more accessible too. Like, it's available on Disney Plus. Waitress the Musical, you have to buy or rent it. Like, it's not streaming anywhere.
Yeah.
So a lot more people have taken in Hamilton than Waitress.
I just think that there's a reason why Hamilton was a viral sensation and Waitress wasn't. And
that's
I
fair.
do think that Hamilton is more original. In many ways, I think more exciting for the average viewer, and more relatable in the sense that we all have some stake in the telling of American history. And even people who are prone to be like, this is revisionist, Aaron Burr wasn't black, there's more people who are going to be compelled for good or poor reasons to listen to the hip-hop Founding Fathers musical than the musical remake of an indie movie.
That's fair. That's fair, because I am more likely to throw on Hamilton than I would be Waitress for the soundtrack.
2 for 2, baby. That's right. Suck it.
But the old white people would like Waitress better.
Oh, I think Pops would prefer Waitress over Hamilton.
Yep. Old white person. So that proves my point.
Pops, you're young.
What would you rate this out of 5 stars? What's your rating of Waitress the Musical, this filmed version that we watched?
I'm giving Waitress a 3.
Yeah?
I could be talked into a 3.5. I'm pretty stingy with my stars. So this is in that 3.5 range for me.
That's fair.
There's bright spots, but for the bulk of the 2.5 hour runtime,
it's lengthy.
It was lacking for me.
That's fair. I think I give it a 4, primarily for Sara Bareilles' performances, and then Don and Ogie, like their songs, like Never Ever Getting Rid of Me, and Don's song, I think it was When He Sees Me, like I thought was great. And so that combination.
Oh man, that
and
was one of
just
my favorites too. I forgot to.
and I feel like we've talked about in here before, I love when they actually film these musicals on stage,
Yeah.
how they are, and you're able to get all of the songs, everything right there. Because this is one
Imagine if
that
they
if
would
they
have
tried
tried
to
to turn this into a movie. Oh,
right, if they would try to turn this into a movie and put it like more like cameras in there and people just stopping and singing randomly, it loses so much of that than what you do get on stage, in my opinion. Like, this is one of those that's better to keep that film version on stage. Don't turn, like, and that's what I think I've said this in like 4 of the last 5 episodes. But Mean Girls, the musical, them turning the musical into a movie, they would have been better off either not doing it or filming the staged version, in my opinion, because they ended up with a movie that didn't know who it was for, because they stripped all the musical theater aspects out of that, and so it lost a lot of its charm and impact there. And then it's not really going to grab the people who liked the original movie, so then you just have this like, why the fuck did we do this, in my opinion. But yeah, I would give this 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it in theaters. Like, the theater experience for this was actually fantastic. Like, it was a crowd that you could tell was there, wanted to be there, and I don't know, there's something about just being in an audience that even if they're not vocal, like, I don't want them to be vocal. Like, I'm here to watch this and listen to this. I don't need you like cheering and making a whole bunch of noise constantly throughout it. But just that everyone was there for a staged musical, like a recording of a staged musical in the theater, sitting there paying $15 a ticket,
great.
was
Yeah.
just so cool to see. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
I hope, is a catalyst for seeing more of this in theaters
Yeah,
and
I
just in
agree. I
general, like
wholeheartedly agree.
film Broadway musicals, put them out there. It is
Yeah,
to film
I
stage versions, the cost, and I talked about this on last week's mini episode, like the cost to film a stage version, so much smaller than like creating a movie of this musical. And most of the times
yep.
that movie isn't going to hit as hard. Even if it's like, if you just film the stage version, you maybe do a limited release and then do streaming or something like that. The amount of people in that zeitgeist in the musical theater world that are going to want to go see it is still like, you're going to have a better return on your investment than trying to turn it into a multi-million-dollar movie, which it was never intended to be.
Notable exception being Tick Tick Boom.
I agree. That's a very good call out. Tick Tick Boom, I think, improved on it. Like, Lin-Manuel Miranda,
Because
so
the
talented.
stage,
Yeah, the
essentially
3-person
one-man
stage
show, or
show.
like 3-person,
It's nothing.
wouldn't have made a good movie.
You had froze, so I have no idea what you said. I'm assuming I agreed with it.
I just said wouldn't have made a good movie.
No, it wouldn't have. Like, you have 3 people on stage just randomly standing there and singing stuff. No.
And
how,
a band.
Like, that's true, you do have the band. But I like, Tick Tick Boom is still one of my favorite musical adaptations.
I love it. I love it.
The last
Sunday,
like forever. Like, it is done so well. Like, the arrangements are so good, and still there's just so much respect for the source material. Like, that's my big thing. If you are going to turn a musical into a movie, you have to respect the source material. Like, I'm not sure. Did you see the Wicked trailer that released on Wednesday?
I am boycotting it.
Why are you boycotting it?
Infidelity. No. First of all, sorry, I just felt like the right thing to say given our topic.
No, it tracked based on this.
No,
one. Yeah, it's well done.
I am so against unnecessary multi-movie productions. Like, them making it 2 movies, I'm out. And I haven't seen the stage version yet, and I refuse to let that Hollywood fuckery be my first introduction to Wicked.
I can understand that. I am, and I've brought it up on here before. I am concerned a little bit about it being turned into 2 movies.
Only a little?
Yes, because there's so much. So I listened to the audiobook of the book that the musical is based on. And the musical itself, like I've seen it, there are certain characters that are very underdeveloped in the musical. And so I could see how you could give more time to them to flesh them out. My problem is that all of the big numbers that everyone knows from this are in the first act of the musical. Like the second act is still really good, but the main ones like Popular, Defying Gravity, The Wizard and I, those are all from act 1 of the musical. And so I'm not sure how they're going to do it. It is also
gravity.
I think it's really going to backfire on them because people who are not tapped in, all of their marketing is just marketing it as Wicked. Not Wicked Part 1, just Wicked. And so people are going to be, unless they change course between now and November, which they might, people are going to be going in thinking they're going to see this whole contained thing. And then it's going to be like, this will continue in part 2. And it's going to fucking piss people off.
Let's talk about successful two-parters that, that aren't
Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. That's
trilogies, right?
Multiple
we
parts,
have,
yeah.
well, like that Lord of the Rings is a trilogy. Harry Potter's one of 7.
Right.
But you have the final Harry Potter. Is it Deathly Hallows?
Yep.
That's part 1 and part 2. That was successful. You had Mockingjay.
Yeah.
I think that was the last of the Hunger Games. That's a part 1, part 2. There was another one that I was thinking of. Like this has been done where it was like successful part 1, part 2 movies. However, they always come at the end of something that you're already invested in.
Yeah.
I think maybe the exception is Dune. I think Dune has done and is done extremely well.
That's fair.
Dune in part 1, part 2.
Part 2, so much better than part 1. I finally watched part 2.
Part 2 is
this
great.
Past weekend.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, part 2 is great. But with Wicked, I just like, why should we care, man? Why should we care about your 2-part bullshit? Make it one movie. Find a way. Run times for movies right now are already obscene. So just do the play. Oh man, like some characters are underdeveloped from the book. Nobody likes Wicked the Musical because of the book.
Yeah, the book is completely different. The book is
nobody cares about the book. Nobody cares. So just get that out of your head and just do it simple. Do it one time. Don't be Peter Jackson.
The one thing I will say is that I do think we've discussed it briefly on here. I feel like In the Heights, I feel like it left some to be desired, but overall I feel like John M. Chu did a fairly good job, like with the exception of having the number at the end where they're dancing on the side of the building. Fucking pointless. I thought that was stupid. Made no sense in the context of that
ostentatious
movie. Yeah. And he seems to have a very deep respect for Wicked, and so do Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, who are playing Elphaba and Glinda respectively. I am going to be cautious. And Steven Schwartz is who wrote the music and for the original for Wicked, is involved in writing the additional songs for this. What to me, I feel like I don't really have a problem with it. I said on last week's episode that to me, a movie adaptation, it does not take away anything from the musical itself. Like, that still exists. So you can't say this ruined it for me. Like, that's not really fair. But, and you're not saying that, by the way. I'm not saying you are. And so I've seen the musical. The musical exists. I wish there were a filmed version of the staged musical as well, so people could still experience that. Like, it sucks that everything you're gonna get now is gonna have. They're doing some like as much practical as they can, but obviously with this, there's gonna be a decent amount of CGI. So you're gonna get this big grand thing that it's just gonna be different. And I'm excited for more original songs. Like, Cynthia Erivo has a fantastic voice and very powerful. Jonathan Bailey, who is playing Fiero, and you may know from Bridgerton, also incredible voice. So I'm excited to hear him sing. What's his bucket that played SpongeBob SquarePants? I can't think of his name, but that is Homewrecker with Ariana Grande is Homewrecker, I think, technically, because he was married.
The
but speaking
cheater,
of infidelity,
Pomodoro this.
Yeah.
Pomodoro in this situation.
Yep. But he did decent in SpongeBob SquarePants, and apparently he was fantastic in Spam-A-Lot. So I don't know.
Was he Patsy?
He was.
Who was he in Spam-A-Lot again?
He was more of a lot of the bit roles. He was not Dead Fred, and he was the one that I forget what that guy Christian Borles played. So he played all of those roles. And apparently he was fantastic in
To kill, I will.
So I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic for it. The 3.5 minute trailer that came out on Wednesday shows almost the entire movie, like about 2/3 of it, which that's the only thing. Like, they're not marketing it as part 1, and they are showing stuff through. I mean, maybe it's just the end of Act 1, but there's scenes that definitely feel like they would be from part 2 in the trailer. And so I feel like they're doing a disservice for themselves by bearing the lead that this is just part 1 of 2. But I don't know.
Well,
Well, this was a Waitress the Musical review. And we're now at almost an hour and a half. So we should probably wrap up. Do you have any final thoughts on Waitress before we sign off?
Sara Bareilles, you're an angel. Your work on this musical, both in writing and performing, is inspiring. Whatever harsh words we had to say about other aspects of it, it has nothing to do with you. You can do no wrong.
There you go. I can't top that. I don't really have anything else. I've spoken my piece. She Used to Be Mine will always be one of the most fantastic and most gut-wrenching, heartbreaking musical theater songs. I think it's going to live on forever, even if people don't gravitate to this musical. That song, Sara Bareilles crushed it with that, with writing it and then performing it in this film version. So this movie is definitely worth a watch. Like I said, it's not streaming anywhere, so you have to buy it or rent it. It's at least worth a rent for $5-6, whatever 100%. It's at there. Definitely worth checking out. Yeah. And like, you can listen to Bareilles has her version of like the songs. There's an album out there where she performs it, but seeing her perform it live and with the live and the emotion behind it is so much better even than the recorded version. And the recorded version is great, but with everything and in the context, it's so good. So recommend you check this out, watch it. Brad, thanks for joining the pod again. For next month musical review, I think we're going to do a Disney movie. And I know you had mentioned in passing Wish. I don't know if that was a genuine suggestion. If you want, I have not watched it yet. And you said it was on Disney Plus. I don't know if you want to discuss that one or if you have another Disney musical you want to suggest for us to discuss next month. But
you froze. Which one did you say?
Wish, because you mentioned that.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago.
We could totally do that. I also thought that it would be fun for us to have a debate. Who did it worse? Lin-Manuel as Hamilton or Hugh Jackman as Valjean. You argue that Lynn was worse performing Hamilton. I argue Jackman was worse performing Valjean.
Ooh, we can do that for one of the episodes next month. I'm down for that. I'll bring supporting documents.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll do that in a couple weeks, and then we will review. We'll do Wish. At some point, maybe you and I should do a Goofy movie. I want to talk about a Goofy movie on here. And you are familiar with
absolutely. Is
my
that a musical?
Goofy movie. Absolutely. There are so many
Who's
original
your
songs in that movie.
Possum?
I establish on here my definition of a musical is anytime the main character sing at least twice. So Top Gun is a musical.
Ooh.
Because she get lost that loving feeling.
We should do that
fire.
for
So
sure.
Top Gun musical. We can discuss Top Gun on here. So
the non-musical musicals.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. All right. Well,
exactly.
We got an exciting slate for you guys coming up in June.
June.
And hopefully by July, Jeremy Jordan will agree to come on this podcast. I want you guys to spam him. I want all of you what do we call it? Downers. All you downers. How about Connies? All you Connies.
Connies?
Yeah. First name Connie, last name Lingus.
Jesus Christ.
So all you Connies out there, I want you to be tweeting and messaging and DMing and emailing and calling Jeremy Jordan.
He's
not that big of a celebrity. I bet you can find his information super easy.
He's in Gatsby on Broadway.
Call his agent.
He's on Broadway.
He'll want to plug it. He'll want to plug it. See? We'll treat it as a press junket. Let's get Jeremy Jordan on the pod. All right? All of you, do your thing. Like, subscribe, all of your podcast chores. Give us 5 stars. Really boosts our visibility. We appreciate you all. Thank you.
Yep. Brad, you have to do the final sign off now. You have to. You did everything else.
Don't forget, Matt's disgusting. And I should not have given him the idea for his podcast tagline.
Yep, but you have to say the tagline now. You're signing off. You're closing it out.
Don't forget.
Mm-hmm.
To go and leave us reviews.
Pussy. Don't forget to go down once more.
Don't look at me when you say this. I hate it so much.
I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at...
I don't like it. I don't like it. Feels bad.
Okay. We're signing off now. Thank you all. Brad said it. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. Don't forget to go down once more. Later.